nationally.
Yes.
The road is needed to be repaired.
Yes. Oh, everything. Remember, for China,
Yeah,
the major cities were built in the
yeah,
last 10 to 30 years,
right.
right? So many of your cities have great new technology.
Yeah,
They have, the buildings are new, the roads are beautiful. Now, imagine in 100 years.
hmm
Will the buildings still be beautiful? Will the roads still be nice? Will the bridges still be beautiful? Well, look at the United States. Once we built that infrastructure, some of it was built as old as more than 100 years ago.
yeah,
Um, the highway system in America is about 70 years old.
mm.
I mean, we build new roads, yes, we build new bridges, but the most of the American highway system is about 70 or so years old. In that time, it needs a lot of work, a lot of repair, a lot of maintenance. But what happens is a state takes tax money from the
Yeah,
citizens,
yeah,
and they're supposed to use it to improve road, improve a bridge,
yeah,
you know, uh, basically keep the infrastructure looking nice. But oftentimes they spend it on other things, like the military. We have one of the most expensive militaries in the world by billions of dollars.
right.
We're crazy with, it's unnecessarily large military, but too late, we spent the money. So the infrastructure today, to fix it, to make the bridges safe, to make the roads safe, to fix
Yeah,
the buildings, you're looking at about 4.5 trillion US dollars.
yeah,
That's that's amazing. That's about 280 trillion uh, RMB, renminbi. I
what?
don't even know the word trillion in
Yes,
Chinese.
yes. Just ago, you have described a lot about the development of the real society in America, and it occurred to me about two keywords. One is about the population, and the other is about private. Firstly about the population. China's population is extremely huge, about 1.4 billion, very huge population. And nowadays, it seems so many people in all of the world. The population about 7 billion people. So
Yep.
more people and more high productivity, and the Chinese people have gone to all of the world, every countries. You can everywhere you can see a lot of Chinese. So it
Yeah.
helped people to build the whole country, especially in China. So even in the period of Chairman Mao, generated a lot for the whole society, generated a lot of offspring. And nowadays, that's good for the society because more people, much more powerful, and have more people can devote to the construction of the whole country. And so, but American the population it increases, but not as quickly as that happens in China. And although immigration helped American to develop, but the population is still not so huge. And
No.
the second reason, I guess, in China government is very powerful, very strong. If government say, okay, we are trying to repair one highway or to construct a subway or have a train, a railway, anyway, or the efficiency is pretty high as long as government order people almost it can be finished within very few days, including currently, it's extremely terrible novel coronavirus happened. The outbreak happened in Wuhan, Hubei province. So when the central government thought, we must deal with it as quickly as possible. So in China, so many provinces, every province arranged some hospital teams to go there, and also maybe 10 days, Huoshengshan Hospital or and Leishanshan Hospital, all of them were built. Only in 10 days, very huge hospital, very advanced hospital were built.
Yeah.
It happened in China.
Oh.
But American, maybe the land was private. If government needed to do it, no, some the citizens say, oh no, we cannot do that, we must wait. Or if we consult, the consulting process maybe waste some time. I think I cannot say China is really, we do not give comments about the systems. I mean, just as far as the implementation about some very important infrastructure, it really exists, including every year, almost every year. I went to, in the past 1 decade, 10 years, I went to Toronto, Canada, and the local people told me, 10 years ago we were trying to repair one subway, but up to now, almost without too much progress. So I asked him why. Just because some people disagree. You couldn't occupy my land. As a result, mischieved. The plan was mischieved. So in great degree, if the government was not strong enough, if everything in some degree we say, that's private, that means very hard to do some public construction. So infrastructure is so slow.
And the U.S. does have something called eminent domain. Eminent domain does allow the government to take your property if it is considered to be for the good of the public. So if they want to build a highway and they come to you as a private landowner and say, will you sell the property because you want to build a highway and your property is in the way? They will offer you some money, usually market value, and then if you refuse, they will go to court and just take your property from you by eminent domain. Now, it's not used as much as it could be. But mostly because of what I said in past presentations. Americans tend to dislike when the government tells them what to do, even if it's for the public good. So private landowner might say, I don't care if it's, if the highway is going to help everyone. I still don't want to sell my property to you. You will get people like that. So in China, one of the advantages of the way that the government works is it just does it.
Right.
It says, I want to build a hospital. Hey, send 20 construction companies to build a hospital. Here it would take them 20 weeks just to get agreement on who's going to build the hospital. So very, very different style, but it's just built into the culture here.
Right.
Nobody likes to be told at all what to do. They're rebels. We're a very rebellious bunch. So the last point, number 4, what I call a Band-Aid culture, and I have a picture there. a Band-Aid is a bandage for your arm or for your body. We use the word Band-Aid to mean a temporary fix.
Okay.
So we live in a culture where if the road is damaged, in China, maybe the government says pave the whole road.
Yeah.
Just do the whole thing. Here, we will say, oh, there's a hole. Patch that hole.
Right.
Oh, another hole. Patch that hole. And maybe 10 years from now, pave the road. You know, and so we always put a Band-Aid on problems. You know, fix the bridge a little bit. Don't fix all of it. Part of it is budget.
Yeah.
You have to here you have to have the money.
Right.
And part of it though is what I told you earlier. The government is spending money on other things. It's putting money on, you know, military when it could put money on feeding its people. When it could put money on building safe bridges. Instead, we're building, you know, fighter planes and warships. And people like me, average citizen, you feel like you have no control of it. You know, you pay your tax to that government, and then it makes decisions that you know, many times you might not agree with. So we end up putting Band-Aids on our bridges, on our roads, on our you know, even our phone network, our electricity grid. It's all getting older and more outdated. So in China, where you see beautiful, fast internet, where you see clean, modern, fast trains, that's not here. You won't find anything like that, even in our biggest cities. Not in New York, not in LA, not in Chicago.
Yeah, in big cities, maybe develop the economy in big cities.
It's more
maybe develop very quickly. But for average cities, for other common places, maybe not so quickly. For example, last winter, about December and October, my wife went to visit the Miami University in Ohio, Oxford, the city. Over there, about 2008 and 2009, we studied over there, and almost 11 years passed. My wife said, "Oh, she wanted to visit old friends, some Americans, some Chinese, some teachers, professors, and some local people, and we regularly went to church, and some priests were still there. She went to visit them." And one extremely important impression on her was that the road was still, all of the roads still the same. The buildings, some are more newly built buildings, but not very many. Almost the place seems petrified, still the same. 11 years passed, almost without too much development happened in that place.
Yes.
So
that's right.
Most places are still not as quickly as those in China.
Development is very slow. And if you're accustomed to Beijing, if you're accustomed to Shanghai, and you go to New York City, you're going to be shocked because it is not as modern. The payment system, you're not going to be using WeChat to make your payments. You know, many places still use cash. The roads, they're not going to be quite as clean and smooth and beautiful. The buildings are, in some cases, 50, 75, 100 years old. So, or older. Some of these buildings in New York are much older. So, the next slide is a great example.
I can. Okay, before you move that, I can tell you our impressions. when we were very young, maybe 10 or 20, 15 years old in 1980s. Well, as long as we mentioned New York, Los Angeles, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, all of these places, in everyone's eyes, oh, this is the most beautiful and developed places. Actually, nowadays we can say maybe 10 or 20 years later, we found something happens. It's totally different from our imagination.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even some people, when I went to Los Angeles, I thought, oh, it's almost the same as Shanghai, Beijing, or Guangzhou, almost the same. And even in Hong Kong is still very developed, but not as developed as I expected or imagined in the past. And what's more, one thing is, some foreigners came to Beijing. They said, "Oh, when I drive a car in the city, even 1 hour later, I was still in the city. I found it's too amazing. The city is so huge and a lot of very high buildings. So in some degree, especially Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Beijing, these big cities have been very, very developed, even compared to New York or Toronto. For example, Toronto sounds like this is a financial center of North America, but maybe the center part still a lot of high buildings, but just over there, I'm not sure how many square kilometers. Except that other places are still very poor. Even like most of the buildings are not very high, not very many. So at least in some degree, we can say in China has made a great progress in the past 40 years. In the past 40 years, China made a great progress.
Very much.
Yes. So,
yes, very much.
Yeah. Jessica, you mentioned you want to say another this one or this one?
Oh, the slide that says urban.
Yeah. Okay.
And in that slide, you see 4 photos. The top photo is New York skyline. Which,
yes.
From a distance, it looked very city-like. It looks like, Pudong.
Pudong.
Across from, it has that kind of look to it.
Yeah.
On the bottom photo, that's one of the churches in New York.
Yeah.
Beautiful, very wealthy. But if you look on the left side, that is a picture of a New York subway.
Oh, this is a New York subway. Wow.
That's a New York subway. So if you're familiar with, if you take Shanghai or Beijing subway, think of how much newer. That subway is many decades old. And they will probably not upgrade it even in my lifetime. I will die before that subway is new. and then on the right photo, that's a typical road.
Yes.
The many of the roads in America, if you travel enough here, if you come and spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you drive around, you are going to see some roads great, some roads you'll say, wow, I never thought I would see this. But you can. And then on the next slide, in rural America, sure, we have beautiful mountains, we have beautiful trees, we have beautiful little churches in small towns. But we also have people living in poverty, millions of them.
Right.
We will cover it later in this presentation. But there are people who they don't live in nice apartments like in Beijing. They don't live in nice homes. They live in poverty. And so you have to balance, you know, yes, America does have some beautiful, nice, wealthy, you know, things, but we also have the other end as well.
Okay.
And that last slide of the bridge, this infrastructure, the cost of this infrastructure is so high that politicians avoid spending money on it when they should be investing in it. Instead, they spend their money elsewhere.
Yes.
As a result, you get things like that bridge. In 2007, that bridge that was not being properly maintained or repaired collapsed, and it killed a bunch of people. And it injured many more. And that, unfortunately, is more common than it should be. You will see road damage, bridge damage, dams, communities where a water dam will break and the water will flood the communities. Many examples of this. So, you know, there's a real cost to the people, to the everyday people like you and me. When the government doesn't put money into keeping the infrastructure safe. So, you know, when you visit here, absolutely you will see some very beautiful things, but you'll also see that, you know, there's another side to America.
Okay, here I have some questions, and I'm wondering the average incomes for some people, like professors, and some people who are working for governments, some officials, and some people who are working in a supermarket. The salary. Before you answer me, I want to ask our audience. I remember maybe about 12 years ago, 2008, when I was studying at Miami University, some professors' incomes, salary, monthly about 6,500 RMB. If they are working for some business schools, maybe much higher, maybe 9,000 US dollars, even more than that. But currently, and for a postdoc on campus, maybe 3,500 RMB, or of the maximum about 5,000 RMB. This is the number were from 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. Nowadays, my question is for an average professors, how is the range of their average salaries monthly? How much? Okay, let me ask our audience and say their answers, and then later you can give us the average salaries or incomes for a lot of people. Let me give everyone about 10 or 30 seconds to answer. 那我们就说，一个教授在美国呢，大约能够赚多少钱一个月，多少美元？大家在这儿可以打下你自己的数字。我们给20到30秒跟大家互动一下。一个美国教授大约在校园里头能赚多少钱？也欢迎大家转发，大家在公屏上可以打出来。究竟是3000呢、8000呢、15000还是2万美元每个月？大家在这儿打出你的数字。这个美国教授通常一个月能赚多少钱？你也可以给一个范围，美国人通常能够赚多少钱